Hi, this is Russ Klisch from Lakefront Brewery, listening to the Tap Takeover Podcast.
Cheers.
You've stumbled on into the Tap Takeover Podcast.
Welcome back to the Tap Takeover Podcast. We are here 2 weeks removed from Black Friday. You guys listening right now are only a few days away. We are at Lakefront Brewery, sitting with Russ, and he's going to give us a little bit of the lowdown of what's coming up at the event, a little sneak preview of this year's Black Friday, and as well as see a XXX over there, so that's good. So before we get started, let's go around the horn, put names to the voices. I am Jesus.
Andy here.
Hi, Russ from Lakefront.
And Alex.
Before we get started, let's talk about the preparation. We were talking earlier, right now we're 2-3 weeks away from the event, but preparation started. When did it start, and what are you guys doing kind of leading up to it?
We brewed the beer like last February. We brewed a couple different batches to get it, to put in the barrels, just let them sit properly. So one is you have to prepare for the beer. Actually, the beer currently is in our cellar tanks. We just took it out of the wood barrels. I think tomorrow they're going to send it on over to the bright tanks, and Thursday they'll be bottling it. So I have a couple samples here out of the cellar tank, so it's not carbonated, but it's should be very tasty. For the event itself, one big difference this year compared to the other years is we're going to have the food truck. I think it's going to be starting at least by around 4 or 5 in the morning, serving food here at the brewery. So we should have anything, anybody who gets hungry, always some nice food that they can eat out there.
Now, it always seems like Black Friday gets bigger and bigger here at Lakefront every year. What time do you suggest people to get out here this year? Last year you had just a ton of people. What time do you think people should get here if they want to get the XXX?
Can't quote me on this one to go, but I think anybody who came here by 7 last year got the XXX, is what I believe is what happened. We got one bottle for everybody. So I think that's about what it was. But it's weather dependent. Of course, not as nice weather, not as many people show up. If it's going to be 60 that day, you're going to see a ton of people on out. And it depends, how much they want to get away from their relatives, the night before, let's get out of the house. And,
we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Compared to last year, how many bottles of XXX last year compared to this year?
Should be about the same. We're going to be trying to do 1,000. That doesn't mean that we get 1,000. It might be 800, it might be 700 or something on that sort, but it should be, I think, around that number. You never know. The machine might break down and you spill a bunch, and so we haven't bottled it yet, but that's about what we're shooting for, about 800 or so.
Well, I got to say, I'm really excited about the food truck this year. It's always a fun experience coming out super early. We're usually out there about 3 in the morning, if you want to come say hi to us. We're bundled up, as everybody is, wearing our boots, but it's always nice getting a nice little warm breakfast, and you guys got some nice swag out there, some scarves and warm hats if you forgot to bring yours. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about that? The stuff that you guys offer besides just the Black Friday on Black Friday.
Yeah, we will have, scarves. I know we got T-shirts for sure, and I forgot you got hats, I think, is what we've got. Hats or scarves, one of the two. We got some warm weather stuff. Or you got blankets. That's what they did. They ordered blankets this year.
Nice.
Black Friday blankets.
This year.
And I think it's kind of a lighter blanket, but still it should be fun.
I'm guessing you're going to sell out of that one. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, hopefully those will be sold out. We're going to have, coffee out there also. I think we have some pastries, the food truck that we should have. We try to make it as like I say, comfortable for people. We have the porta potties out there, and also let anybody know we don't lock the bottom doors of the brewery. If anybody really wants to get in, use the bathroom here, they don't want to use that, I'm not going to try to get people try using the backyard or something, and so you can come into the brewery down below and use the ladies the bathrooms up off the tour shop or for the men right at the bottom of the stairs.
Russ, it's starting to feel like you've become a kind of a part of the podcast. Podcast kind of started at a Black Friday event. You were our very first interview. We really appreciate you joining us again. But also, we really want to know, I guess we ask this question pretty much every time that we see you, is there any variation this year on the Black Friday blend and any variation on the XXX?
See, I went and printed out the recipes for both of them. And just to make sure, and so I'm assuming this is right, they had one change in the specialty malt. Instead of using Dingemann's Munich, they used Dingemann's Aromatic. So it's a little bit different there. That was the key. Besides using honey malt, crystal malt, dark crystal malt, Simpson's coffee malt. But that was one. See, we don't have that one. A little bit of difference. I guess you got the coffee malt, which is interesting. This year, the honey malt instead of, the aromatic malt instead of the Munich. So it should be a little change. We can try both here and see if we can pick that up or not.
So the XXX, is that still the previous 3 years, or are you going all the way back?
My lab guy bailed me out because I forgot to ask that question, but he wrote it on the label of the sample. He's smart enough to ask him for samples today. It was 2015, 2016, and 2017 blends.
Okay, so that's where the 3X's come from.
Yeah,
Always
yeah,
3 years
that's it. Yeah, I guess that's right. We have 3X on there, and then we have the one from last year, which I think might have went back. I'm not sure if.
I think that was 3 years as well.
Yeah, 3 years of the previous
14,
3 years.
15,
So we have
16.
the other previous 3 years from going there.
So was there any thought of experimenting with different barrels?
Luther put some in rye barrels,
Was it last year, I believe?
I think last year, and that's going to come out in a couple more years.
Nice.
And so that won't be this year. I don't know if it's going to be next year, but it might be the year after, where you have it sitting there. And we're probably going to continue to experiment with either different recipe or a little bit slightly, or different barrels to put it in. So there might be more than one XXX coming out in future years.
Okay.
Breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news there. All right, well, I think without further ado, let's get into the
Get
beer.
into them and talk
All right,
about
you want to
them.
use which one do you want to taste first? This year's, last year's?
Yes.
Yes,
Let's
yes.
let's do the regular first. This year and last year.
Maybe let's do a little side by side. Yeah.
And
Okay.
All right, so what are you guys getting out of the 2018 regular Black Friday? Right off the nose, I'm getting a whole lot of flavor, and that's without the carbonation. So you know it's there. Andy, what are your initial thoughts?
Very tasty right out the gate. Smooth, still a lot of the alcohol bite with it from being so fresh. It's big, raisiny to me. It's viscous. It's just a tasty, tasty beer. That's why it keeps us coming back every year.
And Jesus, we're kind of doing a side-by-side here with the 2018 and the 2017. Any thoughts on the 2017, how it may... how the recipe and the flavors may differ a little bit?
What I always like about trying the previous years, it's a lot smoother, less that alcohol bite that you were saying, Andy, but I don't get that on this year's. It's a lot smoother, and maybe it's that malt, the extra malt in there that kind of took the edge off.
Yeah, that
but
was-
it's not boozy. Every time I have the new Black Friday, it just comes out hot. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's a big beer. This year's, it's just very complex. Everything, I echo you guys. But last year's is it's smooth, but it doesn't have the complex. There's something about, maybe it's a mental thing because you were saying there's a added malt, stuff like that. But there's just a little bit extra in this new one.
I mean, uncarbonated, that's not going to change the taste profile too much now, would it, Russ?
No, it shouldn't. Obviously, the carbonation does dance around in your tongue a little bit more. But I know this. We do have the coffee malt going into this one. If I wouldn't have seen it, maybe I don't know if I would have pulled it out. But now that I know of it,
I feel like it's a mental thing, right? Because now that's
now
like
you're thinking of a little roasted flavor, real
Yeah.
coffee in here, and I am picking up a little bit of that. I don't know if that makes it smoother or blends in well, but also the aromatic compared to Munich. Both are good, and but
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Jesus. I'm kind of digging this year's. Maybe it's that year of aging, which I think has done wonders for last year's. This is always a fun beer to experiment with. Throw one in your cellar for every one that you drink. See how they age over the years. The base flavor on this 2018, I'm really digging this. I think maybe it's a difference in barrels. Maybe it was a different barrel. Different ingredients change over time. But this is a fantastic blend that you got going on.
okay, yeah. Well, Luther's done a great job. I take my hat off to him. He's the guy that. Is the mad scientist behind all these different flavors and goes and does his research and find out what everybody else is doing, and now we can improve it and give it a little bit of a tweak. So kind of stay away. I always heard that if you're a great leader, you know how to lead follower, get the hell out of the way, and I just got the hell out of the way, and so I guess I'm a great leader, and by letting him go and do what he's doing.
What I really like about Black Friday beers and that experimenting of holding one going back and aging it. I really like aging it 1 year. I always think it takes that edge off. I do like last year's now. Russ, what do you think? Do you think that 1 extra year is kind of needed? Do you think it comes out too hot?
I think definitely a year does help. You say it's not as hot. For somehow that alcohol starts blending away, then the question becomes like how many years after that does it continue or go back? I think we tried a couple years back, and it seemed like a couple of those years, kind of the older ones, maybe weren't as good as, they still weren't bad, but they weren't as good as the other ones. But it still takes like a year or two. I know I got certified cellar mark on the side of the bottle. And so, we try telling people that there are beers out there that do improve with age, and like you're saying, it does take that little bit of the hot alcohol off, and it's not all beers you start deteriorating with that. There's several different things that you can look in beer, the hop content. I mean, you can't take an IPA, great floral hops, and age that beer, but usually lower hop beers that are over 8%, you can get some added taste and flavor by sitting them down and cellaring them.
And what is the ABV of this year's compared to last year?
Well, this year's I heard 13. No, I thought it was 13.8. That was last year's. This one, I know that this one.
Oh, actually, last year's is 15.6.
So this one's not as
aggressive,
boozy as the other one, but I don't know if you really need to have that. But
well, that's the reason. I mean, you limited. Everyone was 1 pour per person last year. We're going the same route this year.
Yeah, same route. There are going to be 2 different wristbands everybody's going to be getting, and so one is going to be for your bottle, one's going to be for the tap. So if you get a wristband, don't take it off. We cut it off here when we give you the bottle or the tap.
Okay. What time are they coming around with the wristbands?
They should be in line early. They should be there by 5 o'clock or so, or 4 o'clock, and they'll be starting to put them on everybody. We had some confusion last year on the bands, and we didn't get them out on there, but I think it helps a lot with people wanting to get out of line, get back in the line, get something to eat, go to the bathroom, not missing their place, not someone all of a sudden saving a place for 4 or 5 people and jumping in. Can
someone, the general public that doesn't want to wait in line to purchase bottles, just walk in and buy some Black Friday on tap?
Yeah, we do let people to, after the doors open at 8, to come on in. And yeah, I think you could just come on in here and get a draft of it, or you can get in something to eat. And like I say, if somebody's been sitting out there 4 in the morning and a friend wants to come and visit you here and inside the beer hall, they can come in like at 9 o'clock and just walk in without buying it or having to stop in line.
Business as usual for tours, right, that day? You still doing that?
I think we start the tours at 1. I think 1 or 2, I forgot, with the website, check the website. But yeah, it's too crazy to try to take people down and go around and do tours at the same time. But usually we don't start tours till 11 anyway, so we're not really missing too much. But overall, that is the busiest day of the year for us, not only from Black Friday, but also from the fish fry that night, where no one really wants to cook on Fridays and everybody goes out.
Yeah, it's a hell of a day for business then, right?
Yeah, no, it is our biggest day of the year.
We're going to get into the XXX in just a moment, but I wanted to talk about the history of Black Friday. I mean, you guys were really on the forefront of these Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving releases. I mean, to the point that you guys were able to trademark the name Black Friday for a beer.
Yes.
That was a number of years ago. Now everybody seems to have some sort of release on Black Friday, some Imperial Stout. Not saying they're...
like 15 or 16 of them in the Milwaukee area last year?
Yeah, it would seem to be a big weekend for releases, which, in a way is a nod to us. So I take that as a compliment that, we've been able to get it going and starting. And it didn't seem to hurt our sales last year. If anything, it brought more people into town to try to say, well, this is the release weekend for specialty beer in town, and everybody should come here to get some.
So you guys kind of got the ball rolling on that. You've seen it over the years. How big has it gotten now compared to how it started? It must have been fairly humble that first year. Yeah,
well, I remember our tour guide, Chris Ranson, one time came up to me and she said, we should have tours at 8 o'clock in the morning on Black Friday. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I really want to go there. And he said, everybody's out shopping and they want something to do and they're going to have a tour and then they'll go back and go to bed. And it's like, okay, well, we put an ad in the Shepherd Express and we're saying tours, Black Friday tours. And so I gave the first tour. And sure enough, it was like 33 people showed up for the 8 o'clock tour.
Again, they want to get away from the relatives.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. So I go downstairs, give my own little star spiel, and I start asking the people, how many people have been shopping? What everybody been buying? And like out of those 33 people, 0 had been gone out and shopped. And so all of a sudden it realizes in your head that people just want to get out of the house and they want to drink and they want to, have something fun to do on a Friday.
It's the beginning of a long weekend.
And I had my other sales manager, Chris Johnson, kept on bugging me. We got to have this release day, and the problem was that we used to do these weddings here on Saturday afternoon, and it was the last thing I wanted is to have a bunch of lines on somebody's wedding day on a Saturday. So I couldn't really figure out a good day to do this. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, this would be a day because we don't have any weddings going on. It's not a Saturday. We don't have the tours going on. And then I went and Googled Black Friday beer, and there wasn't any. And that I found, and so it's like, well, let's get this trademarked and let's do a special beer, and that was the next year. Was the first one. 2012 was the first.
You guys must have put 2,000 people through here last year. It
about
was
that,
insane.
yeah, about 2,000. So it's a big line. We snake it around the building, and there are a lot, but it's 2,000 grateful people. They all seem fun, and it's a good crowd too. I never really saw anybody get in arguments or anything like that. I've heard about other releases. Everybody's very civil and.
I think limiting it to one beer probably helps. One pour for everybody. It helps move people in and out of the tap room, so more people can come and join the party.
They're sharing enough in line, anyways, right?
That does go on.
That's true too. I mean, that's one of our favorite parts. Is we get out of the house, avoid the relatives sometimes, and just to be able to share a couple beers with some friends in the parking lot at 3 a.m. It's a fun time, and we definitely encourage you to come on out for this. Let's get into this XXX. My first impressions of this year's are, holy wow. This thing is really good. Last year's was fantastic. It's really held up over a year. But this year's, I don't know, there's something special going on there.
Man, I just think last year's is so mellow. It is just so smooth. This year's a little hot for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit too hot. But yeah, last year's is very tasty. It's an easy drinking beer.
Andy, where do you come down?
I think they're both fantastic. The 3 years of that actually the beer stays in the barrels until you actually dump it and blend it is just a phenomenal idea. I mean, it's like almost it's a cuvee of Black Friday.
Yeah, it does pick up more of the oak vanilla flavors that come on out. You can tell that's definitely the aging in the barrels does have an effect of the length of time, on the flavor, and you can pick that out a little bit more. If you drink, from the 3 years or the aged one compared to the like the 8-month aged one.
There's just a lot more complexity there. You're getting more char from the barrel, more of that, I don't know, that whiskey, vanilla, chocolate, char kind of flavor. I'm a huge fan. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I'm a huge fan of the Black Friday in general. Some years more than others, but always a big fan of the Black Friday. But the XXX this year, I don't know. If you got some time, Black Friday, and you can get out away from the relatives, get out early and get in the first 700 people or so, I would do it.
One thing I will say about the 2017 XXX, the extended period of times they were in the barrel lends to it. The fresher you drink that, like I had one, I believe, on Christmas, so about a month removed, and it was actually better than it is now. Drank so good for me right away.
You're saying fresher is better and not so much on the aging with this one?
That's the way I looked at it.
I actually had one a couple months after also, and I thought it was like really boozy. And that's the kind of same feeling I have of this year's. So what I'm going to do this year is drink last year's, and then next year I'll drink this year's. Because I think that extra year does help it, or at least for me, just to mellow it out.
Russ, what do you think? Comparison between the 2 year, with the caveat that the one uncrashed, uncarbonated. What kind of flavors are you getting, and do you have a favorite between the 2 years?
Well, I'm actually getting a little more aroma off of this year's XXX. When I had the one that wasn't sitting in the barrels as long, I got more of that raisin aroma. I still get some of that in this year's, and not quite as much in last year's right now. But I do believe it is a little bit smoother in flavor for me from last year's in drinking it as compared to this year's, where I do get a little more booziness in there.
With Black Friday being this epic event, what do you have planned for after Black Friday to go through the holidays? I know in the past we've talked about the possibility of doing a gift pack of the My Turn series. Is that anything that might ever come to fruition?
Well, we're still talking about it like we did last year. So that one's not coming out right now. We do have some other beers that are coming out. We have the Windy out right now, which we've taken and tried to do is take oak chips and soak them in bourbon and then put those in the barrel. So we have that, and it's a vanilla doppelbox. That one's currently out. Then we're going to have, after that, for the My Turns, Anna E. And she's our catering chef in the kitchen. She remembers her days back in Mexico drinking the hot chocolate. She had down a little cinnamon, a little bit of spice in there.
Nice.
And so we're going to take that, and we've made a beer. And we just brewed it like this week, I think Monday. And she was down there, and she goes, yeah, it was the flavor I'm looking for. And so it'd be nice to have that one. I don't know if anybody's ever done a Mexican hot chocolate like porter or stout. I forgot which one we're going to call it out yet, but that should be nice, and that's going to come out January, I believe.
A nice warm you up for the winter months.
Yeah,
right?
good warmer for that one. So that'll be a nice little beer that we have. So we have that one coming out, and you guys are all drinking the hazy IPA.
All the kids are doing it. So
All the kids, yeah. It's
We
that
tend
one.
to lean that way. A little hazy.
So this is your first one, right?
It's our first hazy. It's about 5.6% alcohol. I think that's the trademark of the hazy, is that it is a drinkable IPA that you should have. And flavorful, drinkable, of course, with the drinking hazies, kind of like drinking unfiltered apple juice, where there's a little more texture in there. So that adds a little bit to the beverage. So it's a good beer to have.
Yeah, I got to say, I was expecting you guys to go hazy a little sooner. You know, you guys were on the forefront of the IPA craze, and you guys have been doing some really interesting things with your single hop series just over the past 2 years. I got to say, you guys hit it out of the park with this hazy.
Thank you.
It's got the juiciness, it's got the mouthfeel, it's just the right color. It's a damn good hazy, which I would expect no less from a brewery who's been doing the hoppy beers as well as you guys have for as long as you guys have.
Yeah, I was happy. Luther did a great job with this one also. Like I say, it's great flavor. To me, a mark of a good beer is when you can drink two and you still want a third. And I believe any IPA or any style of beer, you can. And I believe that's this beer, where you could have a couple of them in a bar, and like I say, with the 5.6% alcohol, it is going to be something that you could go to an event and have a few of and enjoy with a meal.
It'll still be fine all day long.
Yeah, and still be well.
Yeah, don't do it with
I
the
know
Black
all
Friday.
day long, but you can do it for like a night or go there. You can have some, but it's but it is like I say, a good description of the style with the fruitiness all in there. And
Any final thoughts? I know we've been talking a lot Black Friday, but people are going to hear this a couple of days before. So any last thoughts of the event coming up here? Just have fun, right?
Just have fun. We are going to have a little price increase on it too. We've been at $15 since day one, so we're going to go to 20, and I think the triple X is going to be 30. But anyway, that's what we have to have. I mean, like I said, we've held the price ever since the start, so I would everybody let them know that.
Still very reasonable
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah,
where the
compared to, I
market's
mean,
going.
Third
It's
Space
fair.
just had one. It was $20 a bottle for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about the going price on special. And we do. I mean, it is expensive to do all these barrels and put them there, and it's a lot of labor.
It's a lot of overhead aging them for.
Yeah,
that
and
thought,
it gets
too.
to the point too where it's only that price. It almost seems like it's not as worthy as it is, and I think it is worthy. So
Yeah, at some point that beer's got to pay real estate in the brewery for sitting around for 3 years.
Well, actually, I mean, with all the people barrel aging nowadays, have you seen an increase at all on barrel prices at wholesale to breweries?
yeah, there is. I mean, everybody's got a ton of barrels, and I look at all the ones that the whiskey people have, and I know that I talk to the brokers at the shows, and they say all the easy oak has been found, and they'll actually go out in woods and cut down an oak tree and take it out with a helicopter and stuff, and to try to bring it in and to get it cut up for barrels, and so that is a harder. It is going harder. Yeah, because some of the real good ones you're going to get up to $160, but usually the other it's $120, $130 a barrel or something like that.
How many barrel brokers are there in the greater Milwaukee area?
In Milwaukee, there's one, but you can get them nationally. There's several around, but we're just fortunate to have the barrel broker here. He's originally from California. I think his wife met him out there, but she was a good Milwaukee lady, which meant she brought him back to Milwaukee, and so she took this northern California guy and brought him back to Milwaukee here, and now he has his business up in Menominee Falls, I believe, or Mequon, and yeah, you can get so he's like the Midwest supplier of.
So everyone's pretty high up on the speed dial with him, right?
Yeah, he is, and he'll be more than happy to talk to you about barrels at some time. Maybe you should have a show out there sometime, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
you can talk to him. Yeah, he loves his barrels. He's very knowledgeable about it. Yeah, he's always got some mason jar of something he's poured out of some barrel or something like that. It's 130 proof. It's not cut down where it should be yet. So
We tried some of that out at Pulpit Rock in Decorah. They called it the jar of death. It's just black and so strong. Burns all the way down.
So good, yeah.
One more question is, do you have any plans in the future to do any adjunct versions of the regular Black Friday?
We're going to try changing some stuff up. We're talking about different variations, or having, maybe aged in different barrels from the same batch is what we're thinking of. I don't know if we really gotten there yet, but that's what things we are considering, and I know Luther's talking about that this year, where we're going to have different variations probably coming out in the future, at least for the XXX, or storing them, like I say, with the rye that's going to be in the rye barrels right now. So I think that'd be fun. It's like with the single hop. Everybody loves the single hop because they can taste, what the single hop tastes like. And then so it'd be great to be aged in rye barrels or some other barrels. And I'm not sure if we do brandy or do something else too. But there's a lot of variations you can do, and we will be playing with a lot.
Well, we can't wait to see what the future holds for Lakefront as far as the Black Friday series, and as well as all the other beers. I can't wait to see what the new My Turn is going to be. But it looks like we're out of beer for now until Black Friday. We will see you out there. If you're able to get in line early, come see us, come say hi. Maybe we'll share a beer or so. And it's going to be a really fun event. Look forward to it every year. But for now, for me, for Alex.
Jesus.
Andy here.
Russ, thank you for having me here. It's fun.
Excellent.
Always fun. Hope to see you next year here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're going to make this an annual thing, I think. So this has been another solid non-fail production.